Schumer says he's reached a deal with Senator Joe Manchin on an economic bill that will be ready for a vote as early as next week. Among other things, he says that it would provide $369 billion for energy and climate programs with the goal of reducing carbon emissions by 40% by 2030. Allow Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices, cap out-of-pocket costs for drugs, and set a 15% corporate minimum tax. Schumer says it will be, quote, the greatest pro-climate legislation that has ever been passed by Congress. But will it actually pass? Let's ask a member of the House. Congressman Khanna joins us along with former Senator Jones and Jonah Goldberg. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for staying, gentlemen, and welcome to the program, Congressman Khanna. I wonder what you know about this deal. What should we know, and should there be some enthusiasm and optimism behind it that could actually be passed?
Well, we should be excited, enthusiastic. I spoke with Senator Manchin this afternoon. This is over $300 billion of climate investment. The estimates are that it would have 40% reduction of CO2 emissions. It's going to lower prescription drug prices. It's going to have a tax finally on corporations not paying tax. Now, I haven't seen all the details, but it is significant progress. Is it what I would have wanted? No, I would have written more. But it is much, much better than anything that has come before, and I give Senator Schumer and Senator Manchin credit.
Why the sort of about face? I mean, obviously, it's a good direction for your purposes, but why do you think his mind was changed? What was the cause?
You know, I've been on the outs with some saying, let's keep negotiating with Senator Manchin. And the reason I said that is he has said from the beginning that he would be for investments in solar, in wind, in battery. He has been for that since day one. And I said, let's engage and negotiate. And I'm glad that we continue to negotiate, and it looks like we're going to have a deal. Look, politics, there are 435 members of Congress. There are 100 senators. Not everyone can get exactly what they want. It's the art of figuring out what moves the ball forward. This has a very good chance of making an enormous impact.
You're nodding your head. You've been one of the 100.
Yeah, no, I think this is a monumental moment. And I know everybody is a little skeptical because we've seen deals in principle and all of a sudden they fell through. The difference is this has been going clearly. This has been something that has been kept under wraps because the same day that it came out, they released a 725-page text to it. It's down. It's in writing. This is not just in principle. This is a big deal, and it is a big deal for the administration who have been pushing these things. It is a big deal for the Senate, which has had some wins this week with the CHIP bill and other things. This gives, I think, the administration, it gives Democrats, and it, quite frankly, gives the country a little momentum and a little uplift.
How about Republicans? I mean, that's obviously who has to be at the table as well in these. I mean, what do you feel about the idea of, is this truly the type of compromise that could actually pass, not just be written?
Well, on the CHIPS Act, look, I give Senator Todd Young, a Republican, credit. That's a big bill. It's about inventing things here, making things here, buying things here. You know, Taiwan is going to build 19 semiconductor fabs. China is going to build 30 fabs. And now, because of this bill, we're going to be able to build 12 factories here, manufacturing jobs in places like Ohio. This is bringing production back. And there were Republicans involved, like Todd Young, like Mike Gallagher, who helped make that possible.
What do you make of it, Jonah?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The CHIPS bill, I mean, obviously, I would want to tinker with it differently, but I think it's a net good piece of legislation, and I'm glad it's going to pass. On this, I think it's interesting. I saw somewhere that Manchin is billing this as the Inflation Reduction Bill, right? And first of all, I'm very curious to know what Kirsten Sinema has to say. And second of all, I want to know if Mitch McConnell is going to have Joe Manchin's favorite horse's head put in his bed that Manchin's going to wake up next to tomorrow morning, because I very much doubt there are any Republicans who are really going to vote for this thing. And
I love a Godfather reference, by the way, so you can do no wrong.
Was that The Godfather?
Was it in the? Oh my God! I was going to say, I almost gave you credit and took all of it away in that moment.
It's such a dark thing to come up with without it being a Godfather reference. But anyway, I think that this is remains to be seen. I think this is very good. This illustrates in many ways that Joe Manchin, not Joe Biden, is in the sweet spot of American politics and is the decision maker in a lot of politics, and is where more voters are than Joe Biden is.
But ultimately, Jonah, the president gets credit for whatever passes. And here's the thing.
He also gets blamed for whatever doesn't.
But here's why I think this is so significant, because voters are going to trust Joe Manchin to say that this is going to lower inflation. He's been complaining about inflation. Now he's saying, look, this is going to lower the deficit. This is going to increase taxes on corporations, which is anti-inflationary. This is going to lower prescription drug prices. These are actual investments in clean energy that are going to make us more energy independent. I think this is a huge win for the country.
As a conservative, I'm more skeptical about all of that, but that's fine. My point is simply that you're right, that more people are going to believe Joe Manchin than going to believe Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's standing right now is really, really poor and weak, and Joe Manchin is really where the majority of Americans are.
Where is Sinema?
Well, I don't think Sinema, let's see, but I think when you have the president, and if you have Senator Schumer, and you have the speaker, and if you get progressives, I think this is going to pass. And I think with President Biden, we're putting the polls aside, which I grant, the polls aren't great. But you look at if these go through, you look at the American Rescue Plan, the infrastructure bill, CHIPS bill to make stuff here, energy independence in the biggest climate bill, the bill to reduce Medicare prices, that's looking like a pretty good record. And you run for office to become president to do stuff, and he's getting stuff done.
And Jonah's right, though. This is where America is. But Joe had to move that way. He wasn't there. He had to move.
Which Joe, Manchin or Biden?
Joe Manchin had to move that way. I think Joe Biden has been there. He has let Schumer and Manchin, duke this out. But Manchin had to move a little bit more to the center. I think he had to move some. The White House knew that it was going to be reduced a good bit. The Progressive Caucus knew that this was going to be reduced a bit. And the question I've got now is not Sinema. I think that Sinema will back this. The question I've got is whether or not Bernie Sanders will, because Bernie has come out and criticized this to somewhat. At the end of the day, I think it's a reconciliation bill, so you only need 50 Democratic senators plus the vice president, so I think it passes.
Is Senator Sanders on board? Do you know?
I haven't talked to Senator Sanders, but I'll tell you this, Senator Sanders is ultimately a pragmatist who takes progress. And I think he's going to look at this, he's going to evaluate it. But if he sees that this is good for the climate and going to reduce emissions, I think he's going to be favorably inclined.
And the best that it can get.
You know what they say, success has 1,000 fathers, failure is an orphan. So let's see what this child becomes. Everyone, Congressman Khanna, Doug Jones, Jonah Goldberg, thank you so much. We'll be right back.